It's DEW Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rise and shine. You're on with this DEW Time with Pastor Steph. How are you this morning? That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. For this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in God. Oh, started off shaking the Monday morning blues with the DEW Time crew as we talked about the woman who had been invited out to coffee by another parent in her son's school. Now, the story goes, she didn't have any suspicions, just wanted to know what she wanted. Well, the husband got a little nervous because he had bought her some chocolates and some cookies. Yeah, the other mother. From someplace way out where he had to drive and go get the cookies and chocolate from. Well, other parents started telling her that her husband was quite flirty, even to the degree that he had, after being complimented by the teacher, that he took his cologne to the teacher, rubbed it on her wrist, and gave her another smell of his cologne on her wrist. Oh my goodness. And she wants to know, should she be concerned? Absolutely, you should be concerned. Yeah, because who does that? Who is all up in somebody else's space and ain't nothing wrong? So yeah, you need to start asking questions and don't worry about it. Don't feel bad. Don't feel guilty. Start asking those questions and getting those answers that you need to get. Well, let's talk about it. Tuesday rolled around and Pastor Vinny asked the question, why are the people in church late for a 2-hour service? Oh my goodness. Yeah, we all out of control. I mean, we talked about the fact that there's just no regard, no respect for just God, church, anything. If you can't be on time for a 2-hour church service, and boy, did it take a life of its own. Yeah, you definitely got a church folk conversation back then. Well, wow, Wednesday rolled around and our girlfriend Viv gave us an update on those student loans who defaulted. Well, seniors, right now there's a pause on you. They will not touch your Social Security check. But the best part was the Wow Wednesday video of Antoine Massey, who escaped from the New Orleans prison, who claims he didn't escape. They let him out because the girl who lied on him to get him in there in the beginning had retracted her statement. And he had a whole document that proved he did. Yo, you just all out of control. You just all out of control. Why are you on video? Like they're not going to find you. Oh, well, let him take his chances. Yesterday was Therapeutic Thursday, and we heard from our friend, our health coach, Athena. And boy, she talked about health foods that really aren't healthy. And those protein bars, sugar diabetes in a bar. Yes. And we really got some real protein information. I mean, water information. Boy, she was on the roll yesterday, as always. And you want to make sure you catch up with that conversation. So all week long, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all week long has been absolutely incredible. You do not want to end this week and not have caught up on everything that was talked about. So make sure you go back and watch or listen. You can find us on Spreaker.com and Audible.com, Amazon Podcasts, Apple, iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Yeah, anywhere you find streaming service is Due Time with Pastor Steph is on. So just make sure you tell a friend so we can get those numbers up, especially here on YouTube. We need to make sure that you hit that subscribe button. We need to make sure that you press that notification button so you can make sure that anytime one of our ministries go up, that you will be a part of it. Okay? All right. Well, today is Freestyle Friday, and we get to do whatever it is we want to do. Well, talk to the men is what we normally do. So let's get ready, because boy, do I have some celebrity news for you today, including an update on one of our Pray For Them. So make sure you go get that healthy breakfast, because you're going to need it. Make sure you go tell somebody else that It's Due Time with Pastor Steph is on, because they going to need it. And whatever you do, don't go anywhere, because we will be right back.
Men during slavery in the Americas. 1. Some enslaved men were freed by their enslavers before the Civil War or by purchasing their own freedom. 2. Even after gaining freedom, many black men lived in constant fear of being kidnapped and sold back into slavery. Laws like the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 made it easier for slave catchers to falsely accuse free black men of being runaway slaves. 3. Despite their freedom, freed black men faced severe discrimination. Many states imposed restrictions on their movement, voting rights, and ability to testify in court. 4. By the early 1800s, free black communities developed in cities like Philadelphia, New Orleans, and Baltimore, where freed men became artisans, preachers, business owners, and abolitionists.
Good morning, and good morning again. Welcome back to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph, and it is Freestyle Friday. Whew. I don't know about y'all, but I'm so glad we made it. It is Friday. Thank God it is Friday. We have had a wonderful week here on It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. And I got to say good morning to all of you who are out there. And the only way I know you're out there is if you put it in the chat room and say hello to Pastor Steph. So, good morning, Terrence. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We have a good morning from our girl, Ketty. Good morning, Ketty. Thank you so much for joining us. We got a girl, Tamika, our girl Tamika. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we got to say good morning to the ladies that help us to hold it down on YouTube Live as well as Facebook Live. Let's say good morning to our girl, Shantice. Hey, Shantice. And our girl, Anika. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, we got a lot of celebrity talk this morning. And we are starting with the list of the 30 hottest black men out there. So I couldn't wait to open this up. I had to take a sneak peek last night. And man, the one that I thought should be number one is number one, Lorenz Tate. Oh my goodness. Now we did this list before, but it was by another group of people. And this is by our people. So I want to make sure that I go through this list again because we got to check out credentials, y'all. And make sure you put in the chat room who you think should be on this list. So like I said, checking in at number uno, Lorenz Tate, Benjamin Button himself. I don't care how old this man is. Yo, he is not aging. He is getting finer by the minute. And a picture they have of him here. Oh, yeah, I don't normally do that. But he's a nice looking young man. Very nice looking. Well, guess who else is on this list? Adrian Holmes. Now, everybody knows Adrian Holmes. If you check out Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the new series. Yeah. Okay. So he's number 2, actually. Boris Kojo. Now, I'm surprised he's still on this list. Yeah. Well, the picture they got of him, he's looking quite good. Everybody knows Boris Kojo. He is originally from Soul Food. I think that was the first area he made his debut on. He ended up marrying Nicole Ari Parker. Yeah, but he's looking good here. I think he deserves to be on that list. Now, Daniel Kaluuya. I think I'm saying his name right. Now, okay, I guess we need to define hot for Stephanie because I surely don't think he needs to be on this list. Y'all let me know if you feel he needs to be on this list. Now, Daniel Kaluuya, I think that's his name, is the one who's from Get Out. And he played in he ended up in what's that thing? Black Panther. Yeah, I don't know about him. I can't see what Shanti's got up there. But yeah. ASAP Rocky. Is that stuff on his teeth? Or is it just my eyes deceiving me? Now, ASAP Rocky, isn't he the one who's with what's that chick's name? Rihanna? Yeah, I think that's him. Yeah, I can't say you hot when all I can see is these dark glasses. I have never seen him outside of the dark glasses. So how can I define if you hot or not when all I've seen are these 2 braids and the dark glasses? Yeah, he could go to Kick Rocks. All right. Now, I don't know this man. Yahya Abdul Mateen II. Now, they don't even tell me where he's from. I don't know. Y'all tell me where he's from. All right. Number 7. Now, this is a misplacement because, in my opinion, he needed to be up there with my boy Lorenz Tate. Oh, mommy, wait, Ghost himself. How could you put Ghost at number 7 and you got what's his name? Number 3? No, I gotta go back. Number 4 is the guy from Get Out. Okay, who made this list? Y'all must be sleeping because I'm just mad right now. All righty. Omari Hardwick, Ghost. They should have been him, especially if they took pictures from snapshots from Power. Oh, yeah. Him and Lorenz Tate should have been running neck and neck. Come on. Sky Black. Now, if you watch All the Queen's Men, yeah. This is the one who plays her nephew. I can't think of his name. I'm looking right at him and I can hear his name in my head, but I can't think of it. But yeah, he's cute. He's hot. Pants too big they got on, but he's hot. Devon Franklin. Where he come from? He'd be all right. Everybody know Devon Franklin. He was married to Megan Good. Who said he's hot? No, he ain't hot. Trevor Jackson. I've seen him before, but I surely don't know where he come from. Savante Rhodes. I don't know where he come from either. I've seen him before, but I don't know. Big Sean. Who knows who Big Sean is? I don't know. I don't know who it is. And at number 13, Idris Elba. Yo, y'all are smoking drugs. Because he surely does not need to be. Yes. My man, oh my goodness gracious. It almost came out my mouth and I can't think of his name. Shantice, what's his name from The Wire? Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness. When he used to just walk on the wire, he used to just kill me. Oh my. Idris Elba is number 13. Morris Chestnut is number 14. And he's got a killer smile. Now, I have said this before, and I will say this again. Boy, has he come a long way from Boys in the Hood. Oh, my. I sure wish I could see what y'all are putting up here without toggling back and forth. Damson Idris. Now, everybody knows Damson Idris if you watched Snowfall. And I think he needs to be on this list. He's cute. He's cute. Orion. Who's that, y'all? Help me. I don't know who this person is. Michael B. Jordan. Now, another one. At number 17, yo. If you were to pull him up from, what's that? Black Panther. He definitely needs to be up in the number 3-4 area. Yeah. How you got him at number 17? Omarion. Yeah, okay. He's number 18. Method Man. Yeah, needs to be up there. Yes. Especially if you take a picture of him from Power. Yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And in that suit. Child, please. Okay, Shantice. Get ready to jump up and down. Kofi. Cerebro. Now, anybody who watches Queen Sugar knows who he is. Yes. Now, he's a nice chocolate looking man. Yeah, he's cool. He's cool. All right, Shantice. Luke James is number 21. Wow. Okay. Wow. Guess who had number 22? LL Cool J. Wow. Okay. Wow. Now, you know this is a drop. Because if this had been back in the 90s, early 2000s, Denzel would have been sitting up there at the top. Yeah. Because Denzel had Billy D status at one point for some women. Yeah, they love themselves some Denzel. How many kids were named Denzel back in the 90s? Usher is number 24. All righty. I need y'all to tell me when we finish who does not need to be on this list. Who should not have been on this list. Okay? That's what I need to know. Tyler Lepley. Now, isn't he the one from he's a Tyler Perry boy. From what do you call that movie? That Tyler Perry for haves and have-nots, and he's been in some other Tyler Perry movies. Maxwell. I didn't realize that Maxwell's dimple was like this long. Maxwell is number 26. Jay Ellis. Hot. He don't look hot in this picture. I've seen him before. Andre 3000. So they did a wonderful job at putting hot pictures up for some of these men. Well, they did not do that for Andre 3000. No. I think his boy looks hotter than him. I wonder if he's on this list. Shamar Moore, another one who dropped down to number 29. Now, at one point, You could not get Shamar Moore off a list. Yeah, so he's number 29. Number 30 is Tay Diggs. Wow, Tay has dropped a great deal. So there goes your 30. I wish they had done it from worst to or hot to hottest. Yeah, I gotta see some of these comments because I can't see a thing this far. All right, let's see. Oh, Shanti says, Terrence, shut up. So I definitely need to to go back. All right, Shanti says, Lorenz Tate, Boris Kojo, Get Out, thumbs down. ASAP Rocky is cute. I don't know about him being hot. What? Omari Hardwick is number 2. That's right. I should be up there, Terrence says. Yes, Terrence, you hot in our book. Don't you let them drop you. Oh my goodness gracious. Sky Black. Shanti says thumbs up. Devon Franklin is but not hot. Big Sean is cute, not hot. Big Sean is a rapper from Detroit. Okay, thank you, Terrence, because I don't know nothing about it. Idris Elba is hot. Number 3. Hey, Serge. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. Shanti says Morris Chestnut should be at number 4. And Tamika was asking about where was Meth. This is madness, she says. Omarion is not hot, just cute. Method Man, fire. Tamika says, thank you. He made the list. Listen, if they didn't have Meth on that list, it would not be a list. Nah. Luke James, fire. Okay, I'll give it to Maxwell. Jay Ellis is just cute. And Shamar Moore is okay. Shamar Moore, so he dropped for a while. And then when they made him the head of SWAT, they're pushing back up on the list. Yeah. When they gave him a bald head and they put him with that gear on, that one for like looks and hot. And I ain't never been about none of that. But I think with the exception of a couple of people, who needed to come up off this list. Shanti says he was all right on Soul Train with the leather pants, Shamar Moore. He was corny to me on, what do you call that? Soul Train. Oh my goodness, he was so corny. He was so corny, and then corny all over again. All right, what we talking about in the news? Well, if you all remember, back in our blog talk days, Shantice gave us Brian McKnight as a pray for them because he was just tripping and all out of sorts when he talked about his eldest children with his first wife. Yeah, he was going all 8 over the second set of kids. And, it was so disrespectful saying his children from the first wife was born out of sin. And well, I'm a little lost, y'all, because word on the street was his oldest son, Nico, had cancer. Well, unfortunately now, Nico is now deceased. Yeah, he just passed away from his bout of cancer on May 30th. And this is really sad to think that, because Shantice just, this couldn't have been, Shantice, when did you do to pray for them? It couldn't have been that long ago. Well, the word was he's had cancer for a couple of minutes now. And I looked at a subsequent, because this was back in January 24, that they took a picture of him, of one of his uncles with him in the hospital, sending out, sentiments. You got this. Big, 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 big shout outs to you. And so it couldn't have been much earlier than that we got the pray for them. So it's like, yo, what are you doing that you would talk about your children like that? Now, here's the problem I see. Now, whether you were talking about this prior to your son having cancer or after your son having cancer, or if you said those things and then your son ended up getting cancer, either way, it's not good. It's not good at all. This is a really sad story. Let me see. Oh, yes, I remember that, Shantice, saying that Brian McKnight changed his name so that the son wouldn't be the junior anymore from the first marriage, but the son from the second marriage could be the junior. Yeah, some about a middle name or something like that. Yeah, and they bring that up in this article. Well, yeah, so, you do all of this and then one of your kids ends up dying from that same set. They end up dying from cancer. And they say that during the time that he was battling this cancer, that his father really didn't reach out to him. As well as they said he hasn't even made a statement, like a public announcement, since the son has passed away. Now, my thing is, what you gonna say? Other than, I feel bad, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have been cutting up the way I was. What are you gonna say? What are you gonna say? Oh boy, they said, Shanti said we did the pray for them in April of 24. Let me check this here, because it says wow, yeah, it was in January of 24 that the uncle took a picture and gave the shout out about his nephew having the cancer. Yo, Brian McKnight, you are super whack. Really, really, really whack. And I hope you don't make another dime. If you remember, they were, okay, so Shantice did the pray for them, and I think we came back with the story of how they had stopped buying his tickets. Yes, they billed Brian McKnight on some heavy duty concerts. And those people were like, we ain't buying no Brian McKnight tickets. Yeah, because of what he did with his kids. Now, if you ever make $5 again, I'd be surprised, because people are going to really be watching for if you have anything to say now. Yeah, because you want your comeback, you're going to have to come back. You're going to have to come back. You're going to have to come back and say something. And it doesn't mean that it would be fake. Some people say, oh, it just would be fake. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Because you know what? You ever seen people go to a funeral and cut up? And sometimes people be like, oh, look at you crying all over the casket. If you did what you were supposed to do when the person was alive, you wouldn't be doing that now. I'm one who actually believes that. I don't, make it this big thing. But there are some people who really, really, really feel that way and feel like it's just fake. And I don't believe that. I believe that a lot of times guilt comes up when people have lost someone. Yeah. And that that hits you. So that silence could really mean right now, what do I say? Now that I done went all out my way to change yo, that is extreme. you go all out your way to change names and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I definitely wanted to give y'all the update on the Brian McKnight story and his children. And so sad. So we need to still pray for Brian McKnight. Shanti says she's no longer a fan of his. So you did a pray for them. Now you gotta keep praying for him. Pray without ceasing. We need to continue to pray for Brian McKnight, because his children might really be feeling this whole behavior now that the brother is gone. Yeah. So all right, now we could not do any news without doing Diddy news. And I actually ended up with 2 pieces of Diddy news this week. So they've got story that the security guard who was at that California hotel, he had to testify. It's just getting worse for him, because the stuff that's coming out is just an absolute mess. So they have that Diddy paid this guy, this security guard, $100,000 to keep his mouth shut, because his fear was that if the tape got leaked, it would ruin his career. Is that what happened? Absolutely. He knows his people. And he knows his people are unforgiving, especially when you get this girl to start talking about all of this stuff. There was testimony that he had somebody dangling from some window or something. Yeah, it is just crazy. So the story goes that this security guard was not on duty when the incident took place, but came on afterwards. And they told him that there was some footage. They let him see the footage. He saw that it was Diddy. Well, Diddy's people, and somebody else kept calling, as well as Diddy. Kept calling the hotel. Some chick kept calling the hotel as well, trying to get this videotape. And when he got the videotape, he talked this guy, initially offering him $50,000, and then showed up to the hotel with a brown paper bag, this money counter, and this $100,000, and said that the guy was his angel. It was his angel because he was the best thing that had ever happened to him. And if it weren't for him, he would be doomed. Well, he also made him sign $1 million NDA. And that came up in court as well. All of this paper trail, NDAs never look good. No, they really don't. They do a lot of NDAs when things are not good. And when it comes out, it doesn't look good. Now, not all NDAs are bad. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, look at this stuff here. This stuff is generally, people don't get you to sign an NDA for, like I said, good stuff. Most times it's so something bad won't come out. And when they get an opportunity, what they're going to do, they're going to bust out these papers and show, that you were trying to hide something or do something underneath the rug and nobody should know. And that's exactly what happened here. Yeah, the NDA ended up coming out. The fact that this $100,000 was an increase from the initial $50,000, because the $50,000 was for the security guard, and the extra $50,000 was supposedly for his co-workers who could have possibly seen the tape as well. So here, take this extra 50, you pay off everybody else. Yo, he is just messed up. He is messed up. So that came out in court this week, as well as, like I said, this other thing with somebody dangling from the window or roof or whatever that was. They were dangling at his hands. So that don't make him look good either. What else? There's another story that I pulled up from Diddy, about Diddy. And okay, now it was already talk that he somehow had gotten a hold to some of the jurors, some of the witnesses. Yeah, there's been talk. Now, whether this is true or not, I don't know. However, something that did hit the news was the fact that the judge has threatened to keep him out of the courtroom now if he does not stop looking over at the jury and communicating with them. They said that sidebar, before the jury was let into the courtroom, that the judge had to warn the defense table, if you don't stop him from looking over there and nodding his head at them, making eye contact with them, that's not supposed to be his focus. He's not supposed to be looking over there. I'm going to put him up out of here. So it would be one heck of a trial with you sitting on the outside and all this stuff coming out on the inside. Because already you pose a threat when you sitting at the defense table. They all do. It's not just him. They all do. When big time people are sitting at the defense table and, everybody's, being threatened by, you know how they do. Yeah. So they say, as a matter of fact, they say during testimony of one of the, I think it was the one who said that he had her dangling, that he was over there vigorously nodding his head. He says, I looked and I saw your client looking at the jury and nodding vigorously. It's absolutely unacceptable. He said, I told you there should be no theatrics by Mr. Combs. Yeah, and he not just once, but twice, they say, that he was nodding vigorously toward the jury during cross-examination of Brianna Bongolan, and she's the one who says that he had her dangling from a 17-story balcony back in 2016. What you nodding at the jury for? You know what nodding vigorously is? How you got some testimony going on like that and you nodding? What you nodding about? Are you nodding saying, yeah, you know what? I told you to, you've been warned to ignore this testimony. Yo, he's so desperate till he's sloppy. So yeah, this is getting nastier and nastier and nastier, my dear Mr. Diddy. Yeah, this is not going well for him at all. What else are we talking about in the news today? Well, speaking of money, you had this man who won a $3.6 million lottery, and he played the lottery with his girlfriend and didn't go well. He is now suing the girlfriend after she actually took their joint $3.6 million lottery ticket and ghosted him. So he's filing the lawsuit because in January of 2024, they were in a loyal, committed, and promising relationship. and they bought this lottery ticket together. Now, he hands it to her for safekeeping because he had lost his wallet. He had forgot about the purchase until he found the ticket on the floor at a friend's house days later. He scanned the ticket only to find out that they had won. Now, first of all, that's the first problem. I give it to you to hold because I can't find my wallet, or I had left my wallet at home, and later on I find it days going by at somebody's house on the floor. I scan it and it's a winner. You wouldn't have to worry about nothing because I'd have that money myself. Well, they say that an attorney told them that he would not be eligible to collect the winnings because he didn't have a valid government ID. Who these days and times will walk around without a legal? Why are people so dumb? Yeah. This is just so you don't have the right ID, so you got to give it to her. And now, long story short, you can't find her. You deserved it. Who walks around? So here's what you telling me. You did nothing. You did nothing in life. You didn't have a job because the first thing the job asks you for is, or you didn't have a legal job because the first thing the job has to ask you for is your government ID and a social security card. You can't get hired here in the United States if you don't have a valid government ID. Are you serious? So, oh well. So now he can't find her. Well, he finally found her, and now he's taking her to court. So, you go work that one. Because that was just dumb. That was just dumb, and dumber. Period. Let's see. What other story we have here? Oh, good Lord. You know, I'm going to try to tell this story from the bottom up. So there was a woman who was married to this guy, and they've been married for a minute. They had 3 girls, ages Peyton 9, Evelyn 8, and Olivia 5. And he was in the military. I don't know if he ended up with some type of PTSD or he ended up with some level of mental illness that she was concerned about, the wife. They separated. I don't know if they're completely divorced, but they ended up separated. And somehow in the courts, they said that he could not have them. You know, sometimes, they go for like periods of time in visitation, like holidays and weekends. He couldn't have that, but he could have periods of time with them, like a day. That was the longest that he could have. So he took them for the day, and he didn't come back with them, only to find out that he smothered these 3 girls, found them not too far from where they went camping or something, with a bag over each of their heads. Now, if y'all know this man had some level of mental illness, why was he allowed with the children even for a day? Why was he allowed unaccompanied for a day? I'm going to share something real personal with you. You know, my youngest daughter's father had a massive stroke. And it was tough because they were very close. She was very young when he got sick, but they were very, very close. So I wanted to make sure that they kept company. And one of the most trying periods was I could not send her with her father, which meant that each time she saw him, I had to go because he was under the supervision of an aide 24 hours a day. He had they call it 2 1-to-1s, 12 twice a day. So one for 12 hours, the other for the other 12 hours. He could not be alone because he couldn't care for himself like that. He didn't have a mental illness. He had a traumatic brain injury, so he could not really communicate well, and he just couldn't take care of himself. He could not be left alone with her. So I know it's hard. And I'm putting myself out there because I'm saying I know it's hard, and I know you don't want to and I know one time we were talking, and I made the complaint like, yo, I don't get a break because when she's with me, she's with me, but when she's with him, she's with me. So I get it, but I continued until he passed away. I continued until he ended up getting too ill. He ended up in a nursing home, and he ended up passing away. So I know how trying this can be on you. But yo, this man had a mental illness. He could not be trusted. Now you don't have your children because, yo, what is that? She called the authorities when he did not come back with the girls. And they ended up doing the investigating. Now, here's the problem. Because he's from the military, they think, and they've seen signs somehow that he could be in like the woods. And because, again, he's military, he knows how to live out there like that. So they've seen somehow or another, he's gathered up stuff and he can make it on his own out in the woods, and they've been looking for him. So they've been putting out these alerts, please, John, get yourself home, bring yourself home or whatever. He's probably going to kill himself. Unfortunately, I don't see him turning himself in, but this is the deal. And I bring this up on, we're about to celebrate Father's Day in this world. And, you want to be nice, you want to be considerate, but if he could not handle it, he could not handle it. Very poor judgment call. Can you imagine what these babies went through? 9, 8, and 5. Not only did they suffer, but they suffered at the hands of their father. That's how they went out here. That's how they left this earth. Their dad killed them and they watched him. They knew that they were dying. Oh, Lord. Where's my due time crew? Oh, let me see what's going on in this chat room. Boy, I haven't been in the chat room in a minute. All right. So Shanti says Diddy thought he was Big Red from the 5 Heartbeats. Diddy had woman dangling over balcony. Yes, she literally took all the money and ran, talking about the woman and the lottery ticket. Everyone is loyal until someone comes up on $5, which is true. Absolutely. Bruh, buy an ID and a wallet. Tara says, wow, and he did not get a family member to cash it. This is the movie All About the Benjamins, international version. Yo, leave it up to our loyal viewers to put in comments like this. Y'all are absolutely right, though. Just negligence. So when you that dumb and that lazy, bye. You don't need no money. What you gonna do with the money? You ain't got a job. So that means you blowing through this money. So I ain't feeling bad for you. Where's my brother Ainsley?
Hey,
Good
good morning, Pastor.
morning.
Good morning. Good morning. A little late to the party, but I'm here.
How are you? Better late than
I'm,
never, right?
yeah. I'm good. I'm good.
All righty. Let me see what we're going to talk about. So, we're approaching, we passed Mother's Day, where
Mm-hmm.
there's a salute to the mothers, and we are approaching this big FD, this a time where we're going to be saluting the dads.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a couple of dad stories up in this news. So we got Brian McKnight, who we did a pray for them last year. It was a bad story where he spoke negatively about his first set of children, his older children with the first wife. He said they were born out of sin. He even changed his name so that the first Brian McKnight Jr. would no longer be a junior, but he could make the second the baby from his second family a junior. So real creepish type of thing.
Oh, I didn't know
Spoke
that.
yeah. So you should have been listening to his due time a year ago. Yeah, it was
I
just
remember, I
bad.
remember doing something
Bad,
about
bad.
that. Yeah, I remember talking about something
Yeah,
about him like that. I know it was strange
bad.
with his son. I know it was a big thing last year
Yes.
with his son, and
Mhm.
I think basically he was saying, they was basically acting privileged, where he had did so much for them, paying their rent, and he just was trying to encourage them to be a little bit more self-sufficient and stuff like that. I remember that part of it. But I know it got kind of bad and estranged. But I know he got to the point he wanted to change his name so he can give that
Yeah.
name to. That's
Yes.
that's when you get on the petty side, boy.
Right.
Real
And
petty. Come
you
on,
know,
man.
we know that because we know what's his name. Kirk Franklin kind of publicly went through the same thing with his son, and they were talking about the fact that these kids feel privileged when their parents get money, make money, blah blah blah. So that's one thing. But like you said, the petty side of you changing names and all of this kind of stuff, and his son has now passed away from cancer. Now this realization that the cancer existed was back from even January of 2024. So you got all this stuff going on with one of your kids having cancer. So now he's passed away, and now they're saying they've heard nothing publicly. And some people are saying, what is there to say? Well, I think that there are things to say, and I'll ask you as a dad, what do you feel? What is there to say? The son has passed away, and they're expecting him to make some public statement. Do you think that there should be some level of a public statement, considering that all the other stuff was public?
Okay, now since she added that last bit, I was gonna say no until you said that last bit. Uh, because he make everything else public, right? Um, I would think, I would hope there has to be some level of, besides just regular money, anytime, from my understanding, thank God it has to happen to us. Anytime one loses their child, that's very traumatic under any circumstances and stuff like that. Because they should be burying us, not we to them.
Right.
And uh but being able, when there are things that are strange. Now he had to know he was had cancer and stuff like that. So to me,
Oh yeah.
just knowing that, come on now. You think, okay, there's a possibility that he may not be here at any given time and whatnot. He may have been feeling fine, been looking okay and stuff like that. But the reality is, that's it. Now, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know the circumstances of it. I'm pretty sure I don't think he just all of a sudden just dropped dead. So there had to be some kind of decline. And
Right.
at what point do you stop and say, hold up? Whatever beef we got, yo, listen. Life is short, man. God won't give you a certain amount of days. And do you really want to be use those days warring with your kid?
Right.
At some point, they did something wrong. All right, they did something wrong, and it's like I told you, you gotta be the bigger person. And particularly if you know they dying. Come on, man. And I mean, just changing the name, that's a new level. I didn't know that. That is a new level of pettiness. I did not expect that from him. And that just shows more of his kind of character. It sounds more like a little more vindictive. And I would think that then, I hate to say it like this, but he should be feeling bad because now your son is dead. You went through all this, this back and forth and stuff. He's dead. I'm pretty sure and dying with that, I don't have my father around. I know his mother probably there, but and I don't know, we just comfortable with not having his father around. But as a father, you need to feel bad about that because then now your child has died and you wasn't in his life, particularly in his later parts and stuff like that. And I would say he would need to grieve. And he deserved to grieve bad. I hate to say grieve bad or mourn really bad and whatnot, but that should be more of a personal thing. But since you mentioned, he said I had all this mouth to say before. Well, then go through your period, and then maybe at some point in time when you're ready, you make a you should make something public because you pay the attack, man. I've been seeing this stuff, I've seen you walking around with the baby and stuff like that. And I can see the little jabs to the older kids and stuff. I said, man, I'm not privy to a lot of information, but it seemed that alone seemed kind of pretty. I'm off in the Monaco. I'm off with this with my kid and the wife. Yeah, and I see the undercurrent of the jabs against with the older kids and whatnot. And I think it's just totally wrong. I just think it's wrong. So I think he needs to. Hopefully, he's going through. Pray for the whole family that things could be mended with his other children. Sometimes it takes a death of you know how it is. Most time family get together. Was at a funeral. And it ain't the family at the family gathering or the family reunion or maybe the holiday. It's at a funeral. So maybe it's the time the people come together and listen and be like, well, we can't go through this again. And you just gotta forgive, and we'll try to move forward. So he need to make a public apology at some point. I would think so.
Okay. Let's hear from Pastor Jeff and see what he's got to say. Good morning, Pastor Jeff.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, bro.
All right.
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Well, I'm well.
Good. Well, listen, we're talking about Brian McKnight and the fact that, in the last year or so, he's been warring with his older set of children, made some public statements that the children were born out of sin. And they were married to, he was married to their mother, but they were born, sinful or whatever the situation is. And somehow or another, he ended up making the decision to change his name because he did have a Brian McKnight Jr. with his first wife, but wanted a Brian McKnight Jr. with the second wife. So he changed his name so that he could make this youngest child Brian McKnight Jr. And again, all of this was done very publicly. His son Nico had cancer, was diagnosed with cancer somewhere around January of 24. We did the pray for them in April of 24. So needless to say, this was the family knew about it because the uncle made a public statement, about, hey, Nico, we got this thing. You got this thing. This cancer is not going to beat you. You're going to be it type of statement. And now Nico is dead. At the age of 32, May 30th, he succumbed to his illness. And now they are firing at Brian McKnight because they're saying, hey, as a father who did all of this stuff publicly, where you at? There's been no public statement. toward this fact that your son has passed away and you're a lowlife. Should he be expected to make a public statement despite the fact that this is something that is private, something he could be mourning, but you did all this other stuff in that's the theory. You did all this other stuff in the public. Why can't you make a public statement about your son passing away? What's your thought, Pastor Jeff?
Well, my thoughts on Brian McKnight, especially when you started out, he talked about his kids being born in sin. Listen, all his kids were born in sin. I don't care if he was married. Okay. And his little fruity booty self, okay? All right. He acts like the world don't know what he really like. And he got the wrong spirit. He doesn't have a spirit of a parent. He doesn't have the love of a parent. And the Bible talks about, that love being waxed cold in these later days, okay? Yeah, he should make a public statement because he made everything, public. And he put that mess out there, but you can clearly see something wrong with his brain. Something wrong with him. Okay. And he's just not right. So don't expect him to make a public statement, and then don't even expect him to feel like a normal parent would feel with their child dying. He might be good riddance. You know what I'm saying? In his spirit. That's how I feel about it. Okay. Let's see what Pastor KL thinks as a dad. Good morning, Pastor KL.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
All right, thanks. All right.
Bro.
All right. First of all, I want to tell Ainsley, man, I need that shirt, bro. I need that shirt. You're giving me life for that shirt, bro. I need the shirt. We about the same size. Come on, give it up.
I can let you know. The African company.
Okay. Yeah, you look like Wakanda for life.
There you go.
Well, last year, they had this thing in the news about Brian McKnight as a male was billed on a few different high-profile concerts. And the people are like, we're not buying those tickets. Based on all of this stuff that's been made public about him and his family, him and his children, him changing the name and all of this kind of stuff, we're not supporting him. And they did not purchase the tickets because he was a part of the lineup. And at one particular show, they pulled him from the lineup because people were protesting. Yes, they were protesting. Now, do you think, and I asked this question back then, I don't know if you were part of the conversation, but do you think that he should never get another ticket sale, especially now that there's been no public statement made regarding his son's passing from cancer?
Well, I was on that show before. I say one has nothing to do with the other. His personal life has nothing to do with his professional life. How you feel about him professionally, that's on you. You won't buy the ticket. You know what I mean? If enough people feel that way, they won't buy the ticket. He's going to be hurt anyway. Listen, children hurt you, either from your professional life or from child support. One way or the other, they're going to get your money. You know what I mean? But I don't think that he should be banned from doing shows or performing. That's his job. So it's like, all right, so I work, but I don't pay child support. Now you gonna fire me for my job? Has nothing to do with the other.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, Brother Amy. I'm a promoter, and people have made it very public that they're not buying his tickets. Well, am I gonna book them?
No, because I remember this a little bit. I remember at the time, I think it was in Detroit. It was, I think where there's a heavenly presence of some of his family members and whatnot. And at the time, it seemed like, not knowing all the facts, it seemed like it was the son, certain parts of a fraction of the family was, it seemed to me, it seemed like they was kind of crapping on Brian in that particular area, you know, like a spoiled brat kid. Or if I can't have my way, I'm gonna make some noise and I'm gonna tell people don't go to your concert and stuff like that. So to me at that time, it seemed like that was the issue. And it was only limited to that, I think with Detroit, or maybe two cities that, you know, they're making a little ruckus, but he was good as far as going anywhere else and making the shows. You know, it seemed like more of a family dispute, but it seemed more like the bratty kid just mouthing off and stuff like that. So at that time, I was like, all right, well, okay, they're gonna hurt your ticket sales there, you know, in that two cities. But he's nationwide, global, international. So okay, you can't hit that market or two markets. You go somewhere else. But it's public, but it was just more concentrated in where those shows was going to be at. You know what I'm saying? So at the time, I was like, I hear you. Well, again, not knowing all the facts. Okay, I was thinking, okay, well, he be eyes only two shows, you know. But I didn't know all this level of pettiness that Brian was doing and stuff like that. You know, so now it's like, you know, it's like you crapping on your kids. It's like, do I really want to support somebody who has this kind of animosity towards their own kids and stuff like that? You tend to be like, after a while, it's like, do you go support R. Kelly knowing what he do? You do, you know, you like the music, but you just want to support him, put some money in his pocket.
But Pastor Steph, keep in mind that's a different question than what you asked me. Now, if you asked me,
it's not. It was basically the same thing. I said, should the sales suffer from all, because he didn't make a public statement? It's all the same thing. I just didn't word it the same. But at the end of the day, it's the same question. If
you would have asked me, should the promoter book him? No.
But it's the same. You just said the same thing. You said one thing has nothing to do with the other. It shouldn't have anything to do with the sales. Well, a promoter is concerned about what? The sales. So it's the same question.
Yeah, but he's also concerned about his money. Now, for Brian McKnight to say no, you know, I don't want to do the show or whatever. Listen, if two people buy the ticket, he made $2. But the promoter don't make his money. The artist is gonna make it.
It's all the same question.
Okay.
It's all the same question. I mean, I get your point, but it's all the same question. It's all the same question. Do you buy the ticket? Does the promoter book them? It's all the same question. It's going to hit Brian McKnight's pocket. So whether you come from the promoter booking it, because the promoter booked them, even when, like Ainsley said, even when a couple of people were complaining, the family was making a ruckus. The people were they were complaining, so they weren't going to do it in a couple of markets. But now it got broader, and other people were saying, "Hey, we're not buying the tickets." It's all the same thing. It's going to hit Brian McKnight's pocket. That was the basic question.
But not necessarily. I didn't put it that way. Not necessarily, because when the promoter books me, he has to pay me, whether there's ticket sales or not. It's on the promoter to decide whether this is going to be advantageous for both of us. Either way, I walk away with my money as the artist. So whether there's an empty room or not, because you booked me, we're contracted that you have to pay me a certain amount of money. Whether you make your money or not, as the promoter, that's on you. So you make the decision whether this is the best thing to do.
Okay. Pastor Jeff, I'll ask you the same question. You know, does the promoter book him knowing that the sales are not going to be good?
Well, I mean, as a promoter, I would not book him if it's not good business. If I know the sales are not going to be good. But I'll tell you this, Brian McKnight, man, I love his music, and R. Kelly, I love his music, you know, and no matter Michael Jackson, I love his music, and I'm going to pay to hear the music, You know, sorry it's ended up in pedophiles' pockets and all kind of messed up people, but I love the music. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
Oh, bro, man. No, you didn't, bro.
Leave it to Pastor
listen.
Jeff.
Look. When eagles forget how to fly, I mean that Brian McKnight boy, he sings to the heart, man.
Yeah, you do. I give you that. I give you that.
Both my children, by my wife is probably made off of his music. You know what I'm saying?
I knew he was going to say that. How did I know, Jeff? I knew Jeff was going to.
So, hey, what
oh
you want?
My goodness gracious. Oh my goodness. All right, let me read some of these comments. Anika says, I was just thinking that he probably sees his death as punishment and good riddance. Sad. He doesn't have enough decency to make a public announcement. Terrence says, it sounds crazy, but I do agree with Pastor KL. Surprise, Terrence. Shanti says, no. Terrence says, I think R. Kelly's situation is different because he's a bigger artist than your guys. So no matter what R. Kelly does, his sales and people will always be, no matter what the tickets for the other guy. Shanti says, promoter doesn't pay until they see sales coming. If sales don't come in, promoter will cancel show. So neither artist or promoter will get paid. So that's why I said at the end of the day, for me, it was the same question. I get the whole concept of, if the promoter books and he's got to pay the artist, but I'm sorry, in more recent years, that's been the case. If they don't sell, the show's been canceled, and that's what's been happening over the past 7-8 years, over and over and over again. These shows have been canceled because after a certain time, if they don't see the ticket sales coming in, they're not continuing this commitment to pay the artist. So it's going to hit Brian McKnight's pocket at the end of the day. No matter how you cut this pie, it's going to hit Brian McKnight's pocket. And case in point, with what I was talking about earlier, he was removed from one of the shows because they were like, we're not going to. He was on the lineup. He was a part of the lineup. So they dropped him from from the show. Why? Because their ticket sales were going to suffer. Even though they had Shaka Khan and Patti LaBelle and this one and that, whoever it was. I don't remember exactly who they said was on the lineup with him, but they pulled him from that lineup because they were like, no. So whose pocket does it hit? It hits him. So that's why in my brain, the question is the same. I want to shift gears to this other father situation. So you have a man who may be suffering, he was in the military, may be suffering from some level of PTSD. He's been married. They have him and his wife have 3 children. Let me make sure I get these ages right. I don't want to say the ages wrong. 9, 8, and 5. And they ended up getting a divorce or separated or something. Well, in the visitation, they're concerned about his mental health. So they limited the visitation for this father to days. He could only get a day with them. So in the most recent visit, he took the girls and he didn't return when he was supposed to. So the wife, contacted the authorities, and come to find out when they did the research and investigating, he ended up killing the girls. They said they found the girls somewhere with a bag over each of their heads. And now this woman has no children. And my question is, I get this. I want this father to have his visitation rights or whatever, but he is exemplifying mental illness issues. Do I release these girls to him? Yes or no? Pastor Jeff.
Listen, they need to lock her butt up for the same thing, for the murders. Because you know this guy had mental illness. Why are you, I mean, what's wrong with these parents? Why are you, leaving your kids to that, to that mess? I don't understand it. And why would you let somebody mental take your kids? I don't care if the state say I have to. They got to lock me up because I'm not letting my kids go with somebody crazy. I do have a personal story for that, but I better not put it out there because my old eldest daughter might be mad at me.
Boy, we don't get to hear a story from you, Pastor Jeff.
But I took her for a while when she was a baby. I had to protect my child. And
you said that before. You made mention of that before. Okay.
Yeah. Until that her mind got right, she was not getting that baby back. I didn't care what the state said or anything. I'm sorry. I'm gonna protect my kids at all costs, to the best of my ability.
Okay. Pastor KL, the courts say that, no, he can't have like normal visitation as a father, weekends and holidays and things like that, but we give him opportunity to have the girls at a time to return them at a certain time. Should that be if he's been known to have some level of mental illness? Now, he did not show mental illness for that he would murder the girls or hurt the girls or anything like that. Should they take a chance with him having mental illness issues?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, first of all, and I'm no medical person, but how can you determine how severe is the mental illness? If you're crazy, you're crazy. And at some point, you might snap to the other side. So yeah, I don't think. And then for me, after you kill my children, I want to sue the courts because this is what you allowed, knowing that they had a problem. He had a problem. So at some point, you had something to do with this, because had I not let him go or let her go, then you go lock me up for being in contempt.
Right.
So now he or she is dead. Now he or she is dead on your watch, because this is what you said. Now, this comes really close to me because people know I've had my son since he was 3 months old. His mother was on drugs. You know what I mean? I've had my daughter since she was 12 years old. So, I understand this thing. No, you can't go with nobody. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Brother Ainsley, what we talking about here? Yes or no?
It's to me, it's a difficult situation because, I haven't gone through it like my brother KL has, because my thing is, I guess, I'm sorry, I just got more common sense. I just can't fathom a parent killing their kid. It just that's like the most ultimate betrayal. You see people like they're a little off. You don't like what people say. You may think they're a little off, but I just can never imagine someone like really going off and killing their own kid unprovoked. Our kids can provoke because you may want to choke them a time like that. But like this murder, kill the kid, is just unfathomable. And it was like, in a way, I could see like, all right, the father got to get his time. Because you just can never imagine, not unless, the signs of his mental illness was like you thinking like, was he killing the pets? Was he murdering? Did he have a violent tendencies, to maybe let me think, okay, I got to take extra precautions with that. But I just couldn't see, you just couldn't see if there was no forecast of any kind of violent behavior. I can see how they could say, okay, it's got to be limited, or maybe on the supervised visitation and stuff like that. But then again, I hear what your brother is saying that no, under no circumstances, any kind of red flags, it's a heck no. But I can really see like children going with somebody who has maybe slightly something in it. You said because the children couldn't You can have it for any length of time, right? We just like only for like for a
No,
day
yeah,
or something
only
like
for
that.
like a day. Mm-hmm.
It's very limited. You feel okay, well, okay, certain safeguards is there. And here's another funny thing Brother Kim mentioned. I think it's kind of sad. I've seen situations where the mother didn't want the kids to go to the father, but the courts mandated it, and then something
Yes, we
happened,
do.
and then but the court is immune because it was just like you can't even go against the court and say, see, it's because of you now my kids are dead, and there's no recourse for that. You can't even sue the court or the judge because they're immune from this kind of thing. So I guess because of that, you may have to take an extra precaution and say, listen, if something happened, there is no comeback, there is no restitution. Your kids are just gone. So thinking from that point of view, maybe you need to be like, oh heck no, under no circumstances. Any signs of something like that, nah.
Yeah, this is tough. It's tough on the parent, the custodial parent, because now you're telling me he has rights. He has rights to see the children. Well, my children have a right to be safe. Well, in this particular case, and in other cases, your children have a right to be alive. And unfortunately, this is what ended up happening. Very, very sad situation. And I'm with Pastor Jeff, and listen, you just go, I as much as y'all always hear me say, I can't even imagine being behind them bars. That'd be the time I'd have to be behind bars, because we're not doing this. We are not doing this. We're not doing this, because if this is the safety of my children, then we go on to war. Because like you said, Brother Ainsley, now I can't go and say, well, I'm taking the courts to jail, or I'm taking the courts for money because you mandated that you made my kids see their father, and now the kids are dead. What do you say to a parent at this point? What do you say to them? Because I'm sure, let me tell you something, if it dwindled down to a day, I'm sure she has something to say about that. I'm sure. So this is hard. This is extremely, extremely hard. All right, there's another case that I've never heard of before, and I definitely wanted to bring it up to our men. So back in May of 1968, a man named Bruce Tucker fell off a 3-foot wall and ended up with a basilar skull fracture, a subdural hematoma, and a brainstem contusion. They took him into surgery. He underwent emergency surgery to relieve the pressure on his brain, and he received a tracheotomy so that he could breathe better. As he was laying in critical condition, no one contacted his family, and the members of the hospital's transplant team considered him for potential organ donation. And they claimed that they were unable to locate his next of kin. And they say, with a white patient in need of a heart transplant, they went to this man and gave his heart to this white patient. Now they say, though the Virginia's Unclaimed Body Act required a 24-hour waiting period before declaring a body unclaimed, this protocol was not followed. They say within hours of his death, being pronounced on May 25th, the following day, the surgeons removed his heart and kidneys without the knowledge or consent of his family. His heart went to this wealthy white businessman, and it became Virginia's first heart transplant and the 16th worldwide. The man died 6 days later due to organ rejection. His family found out about this after his brother took the hospital to court, as well as the surgeons and the medical examiner. And they say the case went to trial in 1972. but an all-white, all-male jury ruled in favor of the hospital. And they say the case raised serious questions about medical ethics, racial injustice, and the need for clear consent protocols in organ donation. So, what they've done is they have put up a mural in honor of this 54-year-old in March, so that his legacy would not be forgotten. They call the mural Humanity of the Heart. So it's like some stained glass thing in this studio. They also put up a marker, and there's, if Shantice, you could pull up and show everybody what this marker is. But we've all seen it. It's like a person's name and like a quick history of what happened. Now, the family never got any money again because they ruled in the favor of the hospital, saying that the hospital was okay at the end of the day for them to do it. Should the mural, this stained glass mural, and this marker do the justice for what the Tucker family has endured, even years later, and should they even make the attempt to go back and sue? Pastor Jeff.
Well, you know, first of all, they probably killed that black man, okay, to get his organs. You know, that's probably what they really did. And, you know, that stuff's been going on. That murals, you know, it's good if that's all they can do. But, you know, Trump gonna take that thing down, you know. He ain't gonna allow that to stand. But, you know, they need to do all they can do for that situation. You know, to try to bring some type of justice. But chances are they're not gonna get any. But try. You know, I'm all for it.
Okay. Brother Ainsley, should they be okay with this marker, this S59 marker, wherever this is sitting? It's in Virginia, clearly, and it's in Dinwiddle County, I believe. In Virginia. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is in Dinwiddle County. It's in his hometown of Stony Creek, Virginia. Close proximity to his family church, Little Bethel Baptist Church. And they say it outlines the events that occurred on May 1968, and acknowledges Tucker's role in the broader conversation about medical ethics and patient rights. Should this be enough, or should they make the attempt to go back and make this happen? Thank you, Shantice.
Oh, okay. That's what that looks like. That's called a marker?
Mm-hmm. And we've all seen it, especially when we're driving and we see, you know, one of those things. It has like an S59, so it's marking like where you are, the location where you are. And this is what they've done. If Shantice, you could pull up the mural that they had posted in the article for us, please, so you could see, you know, so everybody can see this mural that some artists put together, and they have now put it up in, I'm trying to see where they have put this mural. Okay, so they say the mural Humanity of the Heart was designed by students from the VCU's, that's the hospital thing, and painted by Richmond artist Hamilton Glass. It doesn't say where it's posted, but it's in some studios somewhere in Virginia. Should this be enough, or should you go back and pursue this?
You know, as you were saying the story, you know, I guess I guess the black activist in me was getting upset because I realized, you understand, I'm hearing more and more as I do a little more of my own research that, first of all, this stuff is going on all the time. This is typical American history. We was using black people for guinea pigs, for all kind of experiments. This has been going on since slavery time, so this whole thing using our body parts is even to that, this was in the 60s, is nothing new. This reminds me a little bit that the Tuskegee the program. Yeah, the experiment, that thing, with women, not giving them any sedation through childbirth. This stuff like this stuff has been going on for the longer. Even today, I guess women, they don't want to give women the proper medication, particularly when it's really required and it's sustained. They really need certain things. So as you telling the story, I just get angry about it. And honestly, when you're reading it, as you tell it to me, honestly, I don't really care about no marker. I don't want to care about no mural. I don't want to care about no memo or whatnot. These people need to. I think they need to get some more justice and whatnot. Like if the roles were reversed, first of all, that would never happen. You're never going to go into some white person back then, particularly back then. Oh, this black person need a heart and some kidneys. So let's hurry up and, do what we got to do. This guy and harvest his organs. All that never happened. Never. So if it was possible, they can go back and do a retrial on this thing. And even what you said, that mural and that marker, it wasn't even done by the hospital. It seemed like it was done by somebody else. So they didn't even have the heart to say, all right, yeah, okay, yeah, we just happened back then. Well, let's do this. They didn't even do that yet, from what I understand. So so I'm like, nah, go for the gusto. It's a different day and time, and if they can get a retrial on that, go for it.
Okay. We have Brother Al here. Before we get to you, Pastor KL, we have Brother Al here. Good morning, Brother Al.
Top of the morning. Happy Friday. Oh, yeah.
Friday to
What up,
you,
bro?
Brother Al.
What's up, y'all?
Did you hear this last story, Brother Al?
Yeah, I was on for a little while. I heard everything.
Okay. So should this mural and this marker be enough, or should they go back and maybe take it to Supreme Court? Back then, the courts ruled in favor of the hospital, but that was back in the 70s. Do you think that we've come far enough now? That's the mural. Thank you, Shantice. Do you think that we've come far enough now? There have been enough situations and stories that the family may get some financial justice. So should they pursue this thing?
Absolutely. I think that's definitely one of the problems with especially our race. We give up too soon. You got. I've seen people fight, regardless of the situation. And I think they should fight because that was just wrong. You're just gonna go take that man's heart, and the reason you did it was because it was a wealthy white guy. And I'm quite sure there was some money slid under the table. And listen, we need to get a heart as soon as possible. Here's a little something. So I think they definitely should fight that. They definitely continue to fight.
Okay. All righty. Pastor KL, what's your vote? Do you think, what? Listen, they tried, they're not going to get no justice now. Or, what? Push this thing and make it happen.
I think they need to push these things. First of all, who asked you to put some cardboard up on a sign? Who asked you to do that? Is that supposed to be making me happy? Did you consult me? Did you consider me putting my name or my loved one's name on a board? I'm still mourning. That money that you paid for that sign and that marker, you could have gave to me. Or whatever the light-skinned man broke off to you, why you didn't give me a piece of that? If you keep on saying it's because of him, or that technically now it's because of us that he's alive, Just show some gratitude to me, because the doctors didn't do it. You know, it's because someone had to die for you to live. So show me some money.
Alrighty. You know, they say that even after they rushed to get him this heart, that he only ended up living for 6 days. He died 6 days later due to organ rejection. Brother Al, does that even show that y'all didn't even take the time to do the proper research? Because we know that organs can be rejected in the recipient's body. We know that. But 6 days, does that show, considering where we are, does that show that y'all didn't, maybe they weren't capable of doing that level of research back then? What's your thought?
Yeah, I was going to say that too. You know, being it was so long ago, maybe they didn't have, you know, of course they didn't have this technology and stuff that we had today. But I think also too, they didn't take their time. They rushed it. Okay, this man gave us some money on the table. He needs a heart. This man is gone. Let's do this quick. And I think they didn't go through the proper channels. So I think that's what, you know, may have happened.
Okay. Pastor Jeff, do you feel that this is indicative of this rush, this haste, despite the fact that technology may be a little more advanced, a lot more advanced right now? But do you think that this is part of the problem? Did y'all just rush this thing?
Well, when you're doing wrong, you're gonna miss some stuff. You understand? And they tried to rush that heart there to that rich white man, and he definitely got what he deserved. He paid that money and got death for it. You understand? So yeah, they should have did due diligence. You need to, you know, try to make sure that organ wasn't gonna get rejected. You know, but that black man got his revenge in the end.
Woo, your way of thinking, brother. Pastor Jeff, you are amazing. Pastor KL, you know, you hear the question. What's your thought?
I think that the doctors or whoever, the person who did the transplant, they saw dollar signs, you know, and you know, the love of money is the root of all evil. So what this proves is that God does not like ugly. That's what it proves. God don't like ugly. You know, listen, if it, just like what Pastor Jeff said, if you do wrong gonna follow you. You reap what you sow all the time. You know, how many days you said? 7 days?
6 days, not even a week.
So not even a number of completion. You died before the completion. 6 and watch. 6 is the number of man. That's what 6 stands for. The number of man. So anytime you try to do something without God, it ain't gonna work.
Okay. Brother Ainsley, Pastor Jeff, and Pastor KL went biblical on us. You know, what's your thought on, you know what? Yeah, we know technology ain't what it used to be. You know, you know what I'm saying? It's not. It's now. But you know what? This is indicative that there was some rush job done. Do you feel that way?
Actually, no, I don't think so. You know what? Because and to a certain extent, I don't even blame the white guy. Because if it was us, any one of our loved ones, something happened, we want the care, whatever can happen for survival, we want it to happen at some point and whatnot, right? But it's up to the hospital, to the doctors, the caretakers, those who in the business, to know better what should be done and what can be done and stuff like that. And from my understanding, like when it comes down, I think you mentioned it, we're going to take some organ. They only have like a very short amount of time after the person passed to get the organs and stuff like that. So they did to me, so that it's known we got to do this fast and whatnot. But there's those who you know, seen an opportunity, you know, this is their normal course of business and whatnot. So even a person lasts, say, beyond 3 or 4 days, to them, it may be a success. It's like taking an engine out of a car and put another one in. Yeah, it may not run as good as the original, but we put it in there and it ran for a little while. So I don't blame the white guy. It's the hospital people, and to me, this was like their normal course of business. Because this is only one instance. Because even to get to that point, they've had to do this some other time. This was probably the most successful. They even lasted 6 days. It probably was something that only lasted 2 or 3 days and stuff like that, regardless of the color barrier and stuff like that. So I think it's the hospital and the doctors. They're just doing this is a normal course of business, and they probably got a little something on the table for doing it. Yeah.
Interesting thoughts put out here. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It is, we were presented with some information a few years ago off the subject. Thank you for your comments in regards to the stories that we brought up today. But I wanted to say something to you for publicly. A few years ago, we were brought some information. We were presented with a question, and it forced us to do some research. And come to find out that Mother's and Father's Day is based on Greek idolatry, the worshiping of Greek mothers, fathers, the son, the mother of the son, the father, and things like that. So we have opted out. Because of the origin, we have opted out of Mother's and Father's Day. But I want to take the time to speak openly and publicly to you, Ainsley, to you, Jeff, to you, Al, and to you, KL. You are 4 of the most dynamic fathers I have ever come across. I am so proud to know you and to be your friend, to be your partner in Christ, to have come to know you well and to come to love you. And I salute you today. I'm not waiting till then, because don't expect to get any salutations from me. But I did not want you to believe that I do not feel that way. But I cannot support any longer what God has presented to me. I can't support that any longer from the origin of it. But you 4, I am honored to be able to sit with you every Friday and during the week when I have the opportunity to do so. Pastor Jeff, you are one of the more recent introductions that I've had, but even in this short period of time, I am impressed with your fatherhood. I have come to love you for very, very, very much. And it makes me, I feel good sitting in the company of you 4. I am not embarrassed to put you in front of everybody, as God has chosen you to be on His due time with Pastor Steph. I am honoring God's wishes, and I do it very, very, very. I'm honored. I really am, to even have you come on willingly every week during the week, and for you, Al, you Ainsley, you, Kale, who I've known 30 years and more, and Pastor Jeff, I came across your post, I think it was in 22, that you and Pastor Nicole were on with us for Relationship Clinic. And you and I, we have our own relationship. We talk outside of its due time as well. And we could not be blessed. We could not be blessed more with the 4 of you on each week to week to week. Thank you so much for what you give us, for your ministering, for your honest perspectives, your views. We may not always agree, but I take the challenge. And I remember my grandmother used to always say, you people force me to step my game up. And you do. You do. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for what you do for us week after week after week. We love you. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank
Appreciate
You
it.
you.
know what? You just,
Thank you too.
you just made me understand something. Now I know why my kids don't give me no gifts. They must have read what you read. Because I don't get that for Father's Day. So they must not believe in Father's Day either.
It makes sense. You're right, brother Cal. It makes sense, man. Yeah.
Hey, look,
Oh
thank you
my
very much.
goodness.
I'll give it Pastor Steph. Pastor Steph sounds like she getting ready to go away to prison. Let me get this in right now before I go away. No, but I appreciate you as well. And as I can say, this show has helped me grow, learning the word more, meeting great people. So I appreciate. Steph, we go way back, way back. So I definitely
Yes.
appreciate you and the fellas as well.
Amen. 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 We love you. Thank you so much again for sending us into a thought-provoking weekend. Only you guys I could say that about. And we do the Women's Day on Wednesday, but we do not get what we get on Fridays. Thank you so much. We love you. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful weekend.
You too.
All right, you too. Take care.
Thank
Enjoy.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful opportunity that was. I get Mother's Day, and they actually all text me on Mother's Day. And it's a little awkward when I haven't gotten to you yet to let you know what I have come to find out. And it's a conviction, because I'm going to be honest. There have been people who we have told that this is the origin, and they've continued to do it. And no shade, this is what you do. And, God brought that to me, and that's my conviction. And I cannot follow that. If it comes from you worshiping gods and the sun god and the mother of the sun and all this kind of stuff, I can't follow that. But I think it's important that we share how we feel about one another on a regular basis. When I speak to these four gentlemen, and when I speak to those on the Due Time crew, and when I speak to my friends, I have no problem saying I love you. When we end our conversations and things like that, say love you, we don't have a problem. And I think that's important. I think it's important for us to let each other know how we feel. We just got finished talking about a man who fell working, he fell off of a wall. The assumption is that he was working. Well, he fell off a wall, he hit his head, and look at all the stuff that happened to his brain. He ended up in surgery. Family knew nothing about it. They didn't get a chance to say anything. They didn't get a chance to say at that moment, we love you. We want you to pull through. We talked about Brian McKnight and how he publicly and openly spoke negatively about his children, but to this moment he hasn't spoken openly about how he feels about his son's death. And like I said, some people say, well, he has the right to be quiet, silent, let him mourn in his personal time and things like that. I kind of stand in the middle, honestly, but part of me shares that, listen, you just said all this other stuff. You can't get on, and just say, I'm so sorry about my son, whatever. You ain't got to make no big speech, but listen, you were bold and brave to say all the other stuff. So be bold and brave to just say, the fact that, this is what happened to your son. Nonetheless, I will say to you viewers, thank you so much for your dedication, for you participating, for that chat room being blown up. It's so important that we get this word out. Please tell your people, because I look at the thousands, hundreds of thousands of views for some garbage. There's some YouTube channels that talk about how you kill yourself, talk about how you do depraved things, talk about how to make bombs, talk about all this other stuff, and they get hundreds and thousands of views. Now, I may never get 100,000 of views. I will get exactly who God wants me to reach. But I ask you to help us push this channel. We are concerned about your life, your soul. What's going to happen to you when Jesus returns? We don't want to see you lost. We don't want to see anybody. We feel like God feels. We don't want to see anybody perish. And this is why we're up every day, every morning, Monday through Friday, to reach out to you, to let you know that Jesus saves. You cannot go wrong. Some people figure, well, hey, I'm living it up and it's working. And I say sprinkle a little Jesus on that thing, because the rain falls on the just as well as the unjust. God loves all mankind. He created you. He loves everybody. He doesn't hate you because you have not decided to, make him the head of your life. He loves you. He does not want to see you perish. So he sends the Due Time crew. He sends your pastors. He sends the pastors out. He sends other Christian people to help reach out to you, to help to draw you close to him. And it is our responsibility to help bring you to Christ. So I do it with joy, Monday through Friday. You people crack me up. The Due Time crew, they keep me live. I get all kinds of suggestions and all kinds of things. My aunt is always, CNN must be her thing, because she's always chatting with me and sending me stuff. And, did you see this? Did you read that? All of you, you're sending me things, to put out there, do the research, present this and things like this. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. But I want you to know that we bring what God has given us to bring. It is not my choice, because I pass up a lot of news to bring certain things, and certain things I even have itemized each day I don't even get to. So the stuff that we talked about today was not my main topic. One was my main topic. I had other main topics. We didn't even get to it because God said, stay right here, because there are things that I need to bring out. So we give exactly what God gives us. So thank you so much for supporting us. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. You hit that notification bell. God spares, next week we'll be back with my 2 cents on Thursday nights. This September, we will, God spares, be seen with all due respect with Shantice and V. July 19th, make sure you join us in the metropolitan area, New York City metropolitan area. Make sure you join us July 19th for the Breaking the Yoke Women's Conference. You do not want to miss it. Okay? So, you've been watching It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Join us Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. where we discuss matters of the heart, mind, and spirit as you go through your day. Be sure to set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on the earth. They will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer changes things. It's Pastor Steph signing off, and I want to thank my Due Time crew, the men, for always sending us into a thought-provoking weekend. Thank you for hanging out with us each and every day and keeping that chat room live. And for those who are on and you just can't, get in that chat room, thank you as well. Just tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody. It's Due Time with Pastor Steph is on. And please do not miss this opportunity to give Christ your life right now. Please do not miss this opportunity to strengthen that relationship with the Lord right now, because later is not promised to any of us. Well, we're going to try this again this weekend. But if not, I will see you, God spares, on Monday we will be shaking the Monday morning blues all over again. Until then, I love you.